It's going to be biblical.
Well, hello and welcome to another episode of Patriots Across the Pond, episode 20, here with Frens. How you doing, Stu?
Very well, thank you.
Great. We're so happy today. We got Lewis Herms with us. Lewis, how are you?
Fantastic.
Yeah, we're getting in the Christmas spirit, right? On a lot of levels here.
Yeah, there's a lot of things rolling and a lot of things coming. I'm very excited about the direction that we're finally going. I've been beating my head against that wall for so many years.
Yeah.
Many of us have.
Yeah, it's tough. We're all on that. We all get that. Let me just, for anybody who is not familiar with Lewis and the amazing work he's done, I just want to do a little intro. Lewis Herms is the driving force behind transformative initiatives such as Screw Big Gov, Freedom in Action, the Truth Tour, Remember Your Oath, the Unity Tour, and the thought-provoking platform News, Views, and Conspiracies. Not to mention his incredible truth documentaries and his latest initiative, Herms for Cali, in the run for governor of California. Lewis was also featured in the documentary Dear Mr. President, which was released earlier this year in September. And most currently, Lewis is the creator and producer of the documentary PSYOP of Silence, Exposing Fake News Conservatives. And we just found out off camera, he's also a poet who has a new Christmas poem that's going to be released today.
I'm a poet and didn't know it.
So how's everything going? Give us a little quick update on everything that's happening in your world. And we're dying to at least get a preview, hopefully, of that poem.
Sure. For those that don't know, I'm running for governor in California. And it's been an amazing trajectory. It was started off, honestly, messy because we had to put all the pieces together really, really quick. We announced on June 2nd, and now it's just flowing. It's just humming like crazy. And in fact, in November 8th, we did a huge event with all the other candidates except one from the conservative side. And we were ranked as the unknown number 14 at the time. And now we're top 3. So that's a pretty good trajectory. And there is some dispute. Maybe it's top 5, but it's at least 5 because on the next debate, there's only 5 and I'm one of them. So that gives you an idea of where we're located in this trip. So we're climbing really strong. We have some phenomenal supporters and an amazing team. And we really haven't even gotten started yet. So we're excited to show what we're going to do in January.
Yeah. By the way, do you know when the next debate is? Do they have that dated yet?
Yep, that's January 10th.
Okay. And
Yep.
Is it safe to say that it's going to be covered, is it mainstream covered, or is it going to be something that's going to be on sort of the back channels like Right Side Broadcasting or something like that?
I don't know, because here's what we're looking at now. The first one, even though Steve Hilton was there, and Steve Hilton gets covered every day, right? They ghosted it completely. Nobody heard about it. Nobody, literally. It was only covered on podcasters, which is interesting because even OAN, Dan Ball was there as a host, and OAN didn't even make a mention of it. So that's part of my film actually mentions kind of the games that are played within the political realm, and in regards to a lot of this stuff, it actually talks about that. And it's too bad, because it put myself aside. They've been doing this for 50 years, how they falsely select two candidates for you to look at, and it's an illusion of choice. It's old Machiavelli. Really goes all the way back to Plato. Mentioned this 2,500 years ago, that this is the game of control that's played. So we're busting through that zeitgeist right now, and this film is going to help a lot to do that. And we have some strategies that are going to get us very well known in the next 2 months, where they're not going to have a choice, but at least to pay attention to what we're doing. So
yeah.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
well, that was amazing, because I saw that. It was just it was on YouTube, but it was only you against Steve Hilton, basically, and you're running on this platform as a massive truther to get this information out. And your performance on that stage, I thought, was amazing, and you had a lot of support from the audience there.
yeah, and thank you for that. So what we're finding is, if we can get our message in front of people, we win the day.
Yeah.
It's that simple. And we've gotten in front of Hilton people and Bianco people. I was just at an event, and I was told it's all Bianco people, just so you know ahead of time, right? At the end of the day, we had so many people voting for us, grabbing our cards, excited about our platform, because they don't know there's another choice. And that's the game that is being played throughout the construct that we've been dealing with. They give an illusion of choice. So you think you have a choice, but you really don't. Because when and I'm not talking about myself, when there's another 12 candidates on the stage, probably 5 or 6 of them are pretty damn good, and nobody knows about them, that's an issue.
It's a big issue. And, I think I think what happens, it just becomes like an echo chamber too, because it's the same issues over and over that never get solved, that are just, a bait and switch to get the vote. And then it's the same old corruption. And I think it's safe to say that you're probably the only candidate in this country, unless you could tell me someone else, who is actually running on the platforms you're running on and talking about things like child trafficking. And I think that's amazing, because let's get to the real issues. Let's get to what's really behind running the machine in this country and worldwide.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, because one of the reasons why I got in the race is because I couldn't find anybody in California talking about it. So here's a great thing. Let's say I completely fail. Now they're all talking about child trafficking. So that's a great thing in itself, right? And there's going to be a lot more things they're going to be talking about, because I'm so in your face about it, right? That they're going to have to talk about it for sure. Yeah, so I'm very happy with the direction the way things are going. I believe we're going to take the mansion in January 1st, 2027. I believe that's exactly the trajectory they're on, and we can make some massive changes, and it's not going to be easy. The solutions are simple, though, and this is the game that's played with us. Solutions are very simple. The working of the solutions are not that easy, because they've made it so messy for us to make sure we do what's right for we the people.
Yeah. We could hope that with, I'm sorry, Stu, but we could hope, though, that everything that Trump is doing and the military and all that we know is going on behind the scenes, we could hope that that's just laying the proper groundwork to get rid of all the slime and the people that have been holding us in bondage and not letting us actually see what's truly going on, how we can help and implement the solutions. And I think that, combined with what you're running on and the work and the groundwork that's being laid, I think, I don't want to say easy, but I think the simplicity of what those solutions are will be able to be implemented, hopefully, because eyes are starting to, open, and a lot of the things that have been in the way, particularly in California, New York. I mean, New York still has a ways to go, but we know there's stuff going on behind the scenes to clear it all out. People are they're just like, they don't even know what's going on. They're in a fog.
And that's intentional, because we are in 5th generational warfare. I mean, Boone Cutler would teach everybody about that. In regards to President Trump and Bobby Kennedy laid the groundwork for what I'm able to do now in California. That's the reality. The reality is nobody would be looking at Lewis Herms. I'd be a whack job right now if I would have ran, if I would have ran 4 years ago, right? But the fact of what President Trump has done and what Bobby Kennedy has done, whether people are happy with them or not, it doesn't matter. They have laid the groundwork for me, a We the People candidate, to make this run, and others. So you mentioned before, are there anybody talking about child trafficking? There's another guy which I just adore, and it's Doc Pete Chambers in Texas. He's also running for governor, right? And I'd recommend you putting him on your show also, because he's a We the People guy and he has things going in the right direction himself. And it's important that we recognize all the We the People candidates, because now they are starting to come to the surface, which is wonderful, because this is when we take back and we start governing the so-called government. And that's why I've been nicknamed the Guardian of California, because I'm not interested in governing. I'm interested in taking care of the people.
Yeah,
definitely. Well, I definitely want to talk about Trump and the military in a little bit more in a minute. But just while we're talking about child trafficking, do you want to just talk about your film Cages for a few minutes?
Sure. Yeah. So Cages was a film that it actually came out about the same time as Sound of Freedom, ironically. It's a little bit deeper, and it's localized within inside the United States, not outside the United States, because I Sound of Freedom was great, but I don't think it makes a great impact inside the United States, because people inherently go, oh, it doesn't affect me, right? Unfortunately, even with children being raped daily, they say, ah, it doesn't affect me. And it's sad, and I'm trying to change that messaging within inside people's heads, so they start understanding it should absolutely affect them. Every child that is harmed is a niche off of my heart personally. But in regards to Cages, so I was looking into the mind of the enemy, and Stu and Lisa, if you know how to defeat the enemy, you have to look from their perspective, and it's not always very fun to look from their perspective. So I started to dig in, because if I'm gonna put out a film, I have to have some knowledge on it, and I really want to know what's going on. So I started to dig into what makes them tick. Why are they thinking like this? Which is disgusting. Oh, it's satanic, frankly. What makes them think like this? And then it hit me. I go, you know what? I'm going to do the film from the perspective of the evildoers themselves, so people have an understanding of exactly how deep and dark this is, but they also will have an understanding of how we can defeat them. And I'll give away the ending so everybody knows they're not going to be heartbroken. The enemy loses at the end of this film. And although it's a documentary, it's also a production infused. It's more of a docudrama. So it's highly rated. I was shocked. It has like a 99.7% rating when it comes to thumbs up versus thumbs down. Talk about suppressed, though. This type of film, I've done other films that have millions and millions of views, and I think this on all formats only got about 500,000, which is shocking. But we were told, and many people that tried to play it, that they couldn't even play it. It just got suppressed. So I think it's a film that's relevant today, honestly, and maybe it'll go viral one day. It's a whole nother level than Sound of Freedom, though, for sure.
It is shocking that people look away at this sort of thing, isn't it? It's because it doesn't affect them, which is why I think we're going to see some scare event or precipice moment involving the banks, maybe, where it really hits people in the pockets. And
Agreed. 100%. I believe that forever. I said, I don't think we're gonna go over the crest until the banks collapse, and people go, oh, this now affects me. I guess I better start paying attention.
Yeah. It's sad. I mean, listen, there's a little bit of cognitive dissonance that goes with this, because it's I think part of it is it doesn't affect me, and part of it is it's so ugly. People, we all have grown very strong about looking this right in the eye and talking about it, and listening and looking and hearing. And you know, people don't have that kind of stamina, and that's why we just have to keep talking. And again, you know, what people need to realize is that when you're talking about child trafficking, you're talking about these kind of institutional groups that have been doing it, but you're also talking about, I think, Stu, what did Sue Lingfelter, who's on our show, I think she said the statistic here, she works for Long Island Against Trafficking, and she was saying that 35% of the trafficking are fathers, family members, mothers that are trafficking their kids. So it's not always this organized thing. It's just a lot of disgusting people who are doing this. And the more we can make people aware, the more we start looking more closely, like that guy looks a little strange, or how does that little girl doesn't look okay, is something else going on? Like, we start to look in our own towns and neighborhoods, and it does affect us if that's the case.
Well, 100%. Well said.
So, what is your next step now with the campaign? Like, what, I know you have the debate in January, and what else are you doing? I mean, we're getting like an inside view on how a very grassroots campaign operates.
Well, I was having fun yesterday. I actually rewrote the poem "'Twas the Night Before Christmas." So that's something that I was working on yesterday as a fluke, but it came out pretty good. I mean, I could preview it for you a little bit.
Yeah, we'd love that.
Do you want me to share my screen of what I looked like when I was doing it?
Absolutely.
All right, let's see. Okay, I think it's this one here. All righty. There we go. So there's some Easter eggs there for sure. So I come on screen, and I'll be releasing this today. But anyways, to just give you a preview, "'Twas the night before Christmas, through the Golden State, Governor Newsom was fleeing with his dastardly hate. Pelosi water shift, and judges in full fright, traffickers trembling into the night. We the people arose, chains finally broken, visions of justice no longer unspoken. With all our will, my wife and I thundered the call, patriots charging to reclaim it all." And it goes on and on and on from there.
I love it. And where's that going to be released? I'm sorry, Stu. Where's that?
Everywhere. Anybody could have it. Anybody could post it. It'll be on all my social media platforms, and we can get it to you too. Whatever. It's just a little fun video, but it's a uplifting video, and it shows how we're taking down these swamp rats.
Yeah, brilliant. Can you send Elisa and I that picture in WhatsApp or something? So I want to get my magnifying glass out and see what I can see.
You got it. No worries.
Now, I want to just like harken back a little bit. You were talking about like censorship. I know that you were obviously featured in Dear Mr. President. That came out in September. And, you know, we're noticing some people are starting to get their channels back right now. You know, I don't really believe in coincidences. So it was sort of a few days after we released that, people start getting their YouTube channels back and things like that. So I never had the false vision that President Trump was going to call Mel Carmine and say, "Hey, Mel, that was a really great film, and we're gonna take some steps here." You know, I mean, it doesn't work like that. But I think there was a lot of signs that showed us that they heard it, they saw it, they know, and we have to realize that part of the censorship that we've been living with has been to suppress so that nobody hears this. And I think the other half might also be connected to a lot of the military operation, where maybe they want things to come out in the timing they want, you know, to keep things a certain way. However, nonetheless, what is your method, or what is the team's method to make sure that you avoid as much suppression as possible at this point in the game, with you trying to get the word out there and your campaign?
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic with our team for a couple of reasons. So I was called a few years ago by somebody that is, we'll just say, real close to Trump, like 2 doors down from President Trump. And he told me, he says, "Some of your messaging is just not the time." Wow. Where you're way ahead of the curve. In fact, he told me specifically there was a film that I did called 2020 Vision, and he goes, that needs to be put out 4, 5, 6 years from now, or a few years, I think he said.
Yeah.
And it didn't connect until a couple of years later. That maybe, just maybe, that the good guys are suppressing my message. You know, I didn't make that connection. So all my films and so on and so forth, I'm always wondering, I'm like, they're decent films and they're getting the message out. Why is nobody seeing them? And then it clicked to me. Same with, and it happened about 2.5 years ago when I started to figure it out, is because my Rumble channel was rocketing. It went from 15 to 20 to 25 to 40,000. It was just on it. And all of a sudden at 40,000, it stopped dead. Boop.
Wow.
And it stayed there at 40,000, like 400 or whatever the number was, for 2 years. And my buddy Robert Imbrielli and I were like, well, how's that even possible, right? Because if you look at it, just went whoop, and it's almost like there was a stop on it like that.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. Whatever it is what it is, right? And I just keep, as my wife says, hey, we take our direction from God. We just keep moving forward, and timing is timing when timing happens, right? So I don't know, but in order to get around the suppression, what we've called on, and they've been very helpful, is now when we have a very important message that we need to get out, we reach out to the podcast community and others to help push our message out.
Yeah.
So to give you an idea, I did a disclosure on Ron Burkle, Clinton, and P. Diddy, and it got just a few views. And then I called on all the podcasters to help push it out, and it got 3.2 million views. So we have the power as a collective to really make a difference. And we have to understand, this is not about Lewis Herms, right? This is about we the people, and us taking our states back, which therefore will take our country back, because I really do believe the micro fixes the macro. But unless all of us can work together as a collective and start supporting, and this is why I mentioned Doc Pete Chambers of Texas right here, because even though he doesn't affect my California race, he's doing a darn good job in Texas, and people should be paying attention to him.
Yeah.
You made a perfect point there. It's a lot of people, watch my stuff, but they don't share it, and that is essential to spread this information as much as you can. We're all truthers like each other and stuff, and we have to do this. But there was 2 questions I wanted to ask you, and one was that, and you've just sort of answered it a little bit, but I believe it was the white hats that censored us for 2 reasons, because we were putting this information out maybe a little bit too quickly, and if this is an 8, 9, 10-year operation, it had to play out as it did. But also they censored us to wake up the normies in a certain respect, to show us what they were doing, and to find us and come, and all those sorts of things. But on top of that, I believe very well, and I know you do, that it is we the people that are the plan. Not all of it, but as in a major part of it, military coming down and the people coming up to join them,
100%. In fact, I always go back to the inauguration, President Trump, on January 20th, 2017, in front of a military contingent. He didn't say I gave it back to the military. He didn't say I gave it back to the government. Certainly didn't give it back to China. He gave it back to we the people, right?
Yeah.
And we the people, we have, if we're ever going to succeed in anything, we have to be able to look internally and see, can we do better? And the reality is, we the people dropped the ball. I believe it was handed back to us 8 years ago, and we completely dropped the ball. So now I do see that we the people are grabbing that ball, and now they're running with it, and they're organizing, they're getting something done. So it's very exciting. And it's Stu, in recognizing what you're saying, is that it's a 9-10-year plan. You're absolutely right. And we have to remember how we got here. Over 1,000 years, not 5 years, over 1,000 years, the deep state swamp rats have done what? They've slowly acclimated us to this situation that we're in now. So we accepted. If they would have went from complete freedom, and let's say even free energy years ago, and then suddenly, right, they're poisoning our skies and poisoning our food and poisoning our bodies, everybody would have rejected it. Wait, no, you can't do that. So they've acclimated us slowly. So I think what we're doing is we're doing exactly the same thing in reverse. We're reacclimating people, so we're getting their toe in the water, and slowly they can get in and immersed in what's really going on. And this is how part of the awakening is going. It's not quick enough for my taste,
Yeah,
but
ours either.
yeah, but I understand what
Yeah.
we're doing, and I think I'm part of this plan. Therefore, I'm trying to, part of my platform is an educational platform. People said, Lewis, how are you possibly going to win? Because people aren't awake to this stuff. I said, well, we are going to educate them, and it's going to happen fairly quick. And then that's what we're doing.
Yeah,
Frog in the pot in reverse, isn't it?
yeah.
That's right. Exactly right.
It's
But
funny.
they're trying to, I wish people would get arrested, and I wish I
want to see purple.
But if they are doing this, so let's say if they're doing it in 8, 9 years, 10 years publicly, they're doing the reversal of 1,000 years plus. What you've just said, without bullets flying everywhere and people diving under tables and wars going on and all this sorts of stuff. It's genius what's happening.
It's so genius. And, it goes back to like what General Flynn said when, he said, we're building an army of digital soldiers. So it kind of makes me think, Lewis, you just said, because Stu and I have talked about this a lot. We do believe a lot of the suppression is the white hats for good reasons, part of the plan. Maybe they don't want the end of the movie. You don't want to ruin the movie before it's over, that kind of sort of thing. However, what happened? You started going to podcasters. So it's more and more working to empower the average person, right? We're just average people. We're not trained. Most of us aren't trained. Some of us are, right? But we're not trained like how to be how to run a podcast or an interview. We just get on, we talk, we dig, we, go into subjects that people normally don't go into. And so the more you're not getting the support that you would hope you're getting sort of from the main channels, you're calling all this whole network that we've all built together. And that's where the support is coming. And then our followers are, again, average people who see through it and want to know the truth. So it could be a very divine plan that we've been used as well, in a good way in part of this plan, where it's really not as bad. I believe it was as bad, you know what I'm saying? But now that they're in control, like you said, they're not going to just like turn it over. People have to wake up. And I think they are, not as fast. Listen, I'd like to rip that Band-Aid off right now, but they're doing it brilliantly and we need to work with them.
Yeah, and we need to do the work. And I think because the reality is, if President Trump came in on his white Pegasus and saved the day immediately, we'd be right back here in a few years. Where if we, the people, are part of the solution, a major part of the solution, we're not getting back here. We've got 1,000 years of just the golden age coming up, but we have to do the work to get there.
Exactly. Well, when Trump said we're giving power back to you, the people have to be at a certain level of awakening and enlightenment and all that, so that when the power is given back to the people, they don't let it slip away and start electing leaders and all these sorts of things that are not for the people.
Right.
Yep, exactly right.
This whole idea, like over the last 1,000 years, maybe more, that they have, the boiling frog, right? And you don't notice it because it's been so slow. But it's funny, you have kids, I have kids, and I am appalled when I hear just in, say, 30 years, 35 years, the changes between what it was like when I went to school and what they go to school. Like, I don't even know where to go with this. I mean, when I was a senior in high school, and I went to a private Catholic school, so it wasn't like I was, public. We still had rules and all that kind of stuff. Seniors were allowed to go out on their freeze. We were allowed to go outside and smoke during lunchtime. Like, they treated us like adults with a brain. Right? You earned a certain privilege at the level you are in high school. You can leave the campus. You can do this. My daughter, who's now a sophomore, one of them who's a sophomore in college, when she was a senior, so that's 2 years ago, they had to sign in the cafeteria. They had to sit in assigned seats. They could not leave. When they were late, they got like berated. It wasn't like, oh, I was in traffic. Well, why you should have left early. Like, we just got late passes. Go ahead, hurry up, go to your class. And I'm thinking about this and I'm like, the control Okay, these are 17, 18-year-old kids being treated like 5-year-olds. And that's what they want. They want this sense of lack of empowerment in strength, in critical thinking on your own. I mean, I think we're going to start to see that reverse. But how sad is that? How sad that these kids have been living, such a different life than we did when we were younger.
Yeah, it's so true. In fact, the way that the baddies create this dynamic, though, is financial incentives. So what they've done is they've incentivized schools to make sure that children have to be in school and have to be assigned, because they get penalized when the kids don't show up, or when the kids take a break off of school for a couple of days. So it's a total psyop, the way they've created it.
Yeah.
This control mechanism. But I remember when I was a child that I would run around barefoot. That's just what we did. We all ran around barefoot. During for California, during the spring, the summer, and the fall. Right? Maybe not the winter, but what happened is now I actually know children that have run around barefoot, and they were taken from CPS because they had dirty feet. True story. Wow. So this shows you how things have changed dramatically, right? So, and the whole family, they believe in grounding, so they have a farm, and they let all their kids run around on the farm with no shoes on. If they get something stuck in their foot, well, that's part of life, right? But they're also grounding and very healthy, and they're unvaccinated, so they became a target of CPS, and now the children are being abused in foster care.
Well, and worse, right? Because we know what that whole system was all about, right? We thought it was there to protect kids, and we find out one of the sources of trafficking these kids and exploiting them. But there's just so much, like over the last 40 years, that they've just really upped the control mechanisms, with the kids. I remember when I was in 2nd grade, we walked home for lunch.
Yep.
We were able to walk home. You didn't have to stay in the school. Listen, if I had to do it all over, I would homeschool, I mean, no question about it. And my hat's off to those people who were more aware than I was at the time to start doing this, for a long time, when all these ridiculous situations have been going on in school, and hopefully with what Trump is doing with the Department of Education, right? We know he's trying to take that apart, because that was nothing but a prison system to indoctrinate kids, right? I mean, they had it down to a science, right? Like 6 hours a day, 12 years, right? Everything and all the creativity with the studies you see, at this age, their creativity went down this much. At this age, right? By the time you get to adulthood, you have like nothing, most people have nothing left that are so in the system. So that's why I think what you're trying to do with your campaign is so important, because you're getting people to think out of the box.
Well, it's important too, and you nailed it. When you suppress the creativity, you're suppressing the pineal gland and the right brain aspect of how we actually form our creativity, right? And it's very, very important, because that's frequency. And when we resonate at the highest possible frequency we have massive discernment, and we can accomplish a lot. So the goal is that, I have always said, the real war is between our ears. The war is for our minds, and it's been that way for a long, long time. It's a whole nother level than 5th generational warfare. They're literally warring to control our minds. That's the fight, the good versus evil. The evil wants control of our minds, and good wants you to have control of your own mind. It's literally that simple.
Yes.
It's that simple, what we're dealing with.
Yeah. Our DNA, it's literally a fighting for our DNA, right? Last Q post.
Yeah, exactly. Lewis, just, we do like to ask everyone this. How did the awakening happen for you?
Well, mine's a different deal. I've kind of been a rebel my whole life, or let's say I pushed back against the system my whole life. I was kicked out of several classes because I got straight A's on the test. Therefore, I said, why do I need to do homework? And I can never, not one time did I have any teacher in junior high or high school explained to me why homework would be important if I already knew the material. So I said, I'm not going to do homework. So I was kind of had that mentality even as a child. And then I got in an accident in my early 20s and saw a chiropractor, and he quickly taught me about big pharma. Literally in one small paragraph, he said, let me explain to you how big pharma works. He says, virtually every cure on earth is already here in some natural form. Maybe we haven't found it, but it's here. What big pharma does is they find those cures that are already working, and they synthetically reproduce it, because if they synthetically reproduce it, they can get a string. If you have a string, you can patent it. If you patent it, you can make more money. I'm like, cool, no problem. There's just business. He says, but here's the catch. Every synthetic string or anything synthetic that enters our body recognizes as a poison, not as a medicinal fix, but a poison. And therefore it rejects that poison. And that's why you have side effects and more side effects and more poisonous medicine for more side effects. Now, am I saying there's no pharmaceuticals that work out there? No. Ivermectin seems to do good. Hydroxychloroquine, and there's other things that seem to do pretty well.
Yeah.
But yeah, femdositol. But the reality is that many of them are a poison to our body, right? And they don't care. Big pharma doesn't care that they're poisoning your body. In fact, I think they prefer it that way because they can sell more medicines on the back end also. So that was an awakening when I was early. And then when I was 29, 30-ish, I had serious disease, hepatitis C, and I was treated with a form of chemotherapy called interferon A that I had to inject in my leg 3 times a day, right? I had put the chemotherapy in my own leg 3 times a day. After 3 months, I went back. They're like, yeah, I don't think you're getting the results here. We're going to give you 6 more months. So they're sending it to my house, 6 more months of this. So I got a manual that you can get today, but back then you couldn't get it. And it's called the Merck Manual. And it's actually a book that tells the doctors what the true side effects of drugs are. And it said that interferon A had a 65%, something like that, chance of helping your kidney, your liver, but 100% chance of damaging your liver. And so I thought to myself, I go, well, I'm pretty damn good at math. That one doesn't add up for me. So I sought out some information, and I believe it was my mom gave me a book by Dr. McDougall, which is a cardiologist that he was one of the most famous cardiologists in the world. He dropped his complete practice of doing heart surgery because he found out nutrition was a better way to cure people than cutting them open. So I started to read about nutrition, and that kind of put me on this path, and I've continued to be there for a long time. And the latest would have been 5 years ago. My wife's friend turned us on to Janet Osbart and people like that, and that helped us with our awakening even further.
Yeah. So is it safe to say your mom was kind of like, she was an influence for her to have that book that she gave you? Like she was.
I have to be honest, it's a total fluke, because she was so in the matrix. She actually died from the vaccine. Yeah. Yeah, she's deep in the matrix. It was just a fluke that she happened to have that book.
Wow.
Because she had a hole in her heart since a child, right? So I'm assuming she was reading books like this, and she did eat fairly healthy for sure. So
she had like she was able to see it, but she couldn't see it enough.
She couldn't even see it within herself. Right. Because, many people put the blinders on, but she understood nutrition mattered. So she got me that book. So, and it helped for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry to hear that. My mum passed away in the COVID. Same. It was, we've lost a lot of loved ones over this time. And maybe what you were saying there as well, that everything is already here. Maybe ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine and fenbendazole are out there in plants, but they just haven't found them yet, or they've still been suppressed and stuff.
Yeah. Well, look at how much of the rainforest has been destroyed. I wonder if that's been more calculated than what we think.
Yeah.
Sure, without a doubt. So, Stu, you said before maybe we'll go down a little bit, talking about the military operation a little, but I'm curious just where you think, because you're a truther, like put put the hat of, governor candidate aside and just your nature and who you are as a truther, where do you think we are right now, Christmas season 2025? You have any thoughts on where, how far you think we are, where you think maybe we're going to be over the next 6 months, whether it be with the, the financial system or the, more exposure and D-class coming out? You have any thoughts on that?
Well, I don't generally do predictions, but I do markers, right?
Yeah.
So I look for markers. So to give you an idea, right now, I think there's a big, huge marker that we may be within a financial collapse, just watching the way silver is going through the roof, and they're doing everything they can to balance that fiat dollar. Add into the fact that Trump just announced that there's going to be a new chairman of the Federal Reserve, right?
Yeah.
That's so there's a lot to play there, right? Because I don't think that the Fed Reserve should be even a thing. So it should just be the Treasury anyways. But so that tells you where we're going in the financial realm, right? The fact that you have governments right now banning chemtrails, and we're getting chemtrailed more than ever, tells you that we're in the middle of a battle right there. Clinical battle. When you have Bobby Kennedy talking about chemtrails, it tells you that we're in the midst of it right now. So I believe that within the next 6 months, maybe even 5, because I can tell you our primary is in June 2nd. I believe in the next 5 months, we are going to be categorically different appearing than we were for the last 10 years. Yeah. I believe it feels like to me that we are in the momentum phase. If you're into business, you understand what the momentum phase is, that we're in the momentum phase of the awakening right now. And we're going to exponentially be woken up, and it's going to be extraordinarily uncomfortable. And I believe it's even going to be uncomfortable for those that think they're awake, because they're going to see some of their heroes are not their heroes, they're zeros.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, agreed. Well, we'll see what, I think it's interesting, and just be a little conspiratorial, but I think it's really interesting that Trump just signed the executive order to make Christmas Eve and the day after Christmas, which I know in the UK you call Boxing Day, federal holidays. Mm-hmm. And I know on the surface, it looks like, this is just really nice, for people to have a little more time. But I feel like there's something else going on. I don't know exactly quite what, but I feel like there's something more to that. Any thoughts on that?
Well, Trump says we're going to have a good Christmas, and I've been waiting. This is the 4th year, I think.
Yeah, is this the one? Is this the good Christmas? We don't know.
Well, it feels like it, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, the momentum seems to be there. I mean, if we can go down the road of that, there's going to be a positive financial reset, right? That could be possible, because if you see the trajectory of silver, I used to be a premier writer on the dinar, so I have a lot of knowledge on the dinar. My biggest concern, and I've said this 20 years ago, that if the HCL, the hydrocarbon law, is not signed, there will be nothing that happens there, because they have an agreement with the Kurds, because the Kurds were helping the Iraqis fight, and Kurds are kind of part of Iraq and Turkey at the same time, that they must share revenue, oil revenue, mineral revenue, so on and so forth. That law has to be signed, in my opinion, before there could be a revalue of currency. And if dinar is the main one in the basket, that's the key to watch. So what I don't like is there's a lot of pumpers out there that every weekend it's going to revalue it, or just revalue it. Go buy your dinar, blah, 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 right? Which is the wrong thing to do. It's inappropriate, in my opinion, but there is absolutely something going on with all of this right now. So if there was a time for a financial reset, this would be it. I think Trump has some momentum with some disclosures as of late. If you've noticed, it's pretty extraordinary that he's put out several things that have the letter Q on them, right? So there's a nod there. And people don't have to believe Q or not believe Q, and it's not even important to my campaign. Regardless, if you study it from a military aspect, it's real. Doesn't matter if you like it, doesn't matter if you think it's bad or what. It's a military operation. It's very clear. Anybody that's in the military from the intelligence aspect can read it and say that's a military operation. They get it. And it's part of the 5th generational warfare. So whether people believe it's good or it's bad, that's their call. But I can tell you that everything seems to be going in a certain trajectory right now. So let's see how Christmas is. All I know, and my wife and I talk about this all the time, is it doesn't matter if we think things are going to be better or things are going to be great. We need to move forward with our agenda, and our agenda is to take care of we the people. So that's what we keep doing day after day, one step, one foot in front of the other, day after day. Very methodical. We just keep moving forward. If everything catches up to what our belief system is, more power to us, right? That's great. But we have to keep taking care of the people, and that's what we're doing.
Yeah, and I think with we spoke about this the other day, Stu and I. We were saying how the timing, even of, let's say, the revaluation and abundance, you know, now versus say 10 or 20 years ago, I think there's so many more people that are I want to say elevated in their frequency. I don't even know if it's about being awake per se, but I think people there's just a higher level of frequency that people will probably know more what to do with that abundance than maybe 20, 30 years ago, you know, where it would be for good. And it's not about buying Ferraris and, you know, and I'm not saying like, listen, we're not entitled to toys, right? You should enjoy stuff. But I think the intent of where a lot of people, when they think about having abundance and wealth, they think very differently, you know, and there are more people out there who are thinking about, yeah, I want to be comfortable, you know, I don't be living month to month worrying if I could pay my rent or my mortgage. But other than that, there's a lot of good I want to do, and there's a lot of great things I want to, you know, enjoy in this time on earth. So I think that's also timing too, you know, like how maybe the frequency is being raised so that we're thinking more about helping one another as opposed to just material gain for ourselves. Do you find that? Because I just find even the sleepy people, I just find them more giving and just thinking differently than the people I knew like in the 90s and the early 2000s.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. In fact, going on the truth tours, let's say I've talked to about 50 people and 50 people talk to me about a potential revalue of a currency. And out of those 50, 48 are talking about the organizations that they're going to create in order to help people. And 2 are talking about a cool truck or a cool boat or whatever. So I absolutely agree with that. And I've said this. So if you, let's take away the 5% on either side. You have 5% radicals on either side that they're always hateful no matter what, right? You have the Marxists hateful. You even have the right hateful, right? There's just hate. Regardless if we disagree or not, the 90% in the middle, I believe, I even see them being more friendlier. I've noticed that people that I would consider liberal at a store and so on and so forth, they're more genuinely friendly when we're talking to them. And I've seen that trend, and people disagree with me. Maybe it's just something I want to see, but I see that in general, people are becoming more thoughtful of each other. Now, until you do what? Until you start talking about that political divide. Right. That's the psyop that we still haven't permeated yet.
Yeah.
But if you're just talking about stuff like, you know, we should be walking an old lady across the street, you're going to have a conservative and a liberal together running to go help that person.
Yes.
And that's a beautiful thing. And we should talk about things that unite us instead of constantly talking about the things that divide us. And I do believe, Elisa, we're going in the right direction.
Yeah.
We have been guided by Hollywood and singers and all these people on the telly, and people have gone very materialistic and service to self, but we are moving back into this service to others framework, aren't we? And more people are coming on board every day, which is why it's taken a long time. But
yeah,
I agree.
I also think, like, Louis, you have 7 children?
Yes, 7
Yeah.
children.
And I don't know if you notice, like, you know, I think we all are guilty sometimes of like making fun of our kids in this generation, like, oh, they don't have any common sense. They're used to, you know, doing everything on a phone, and they can't, you know, order a pizza without, you know, doing it on a, but putting that aside and the joking part of it, I just find that the kids, at least I can only look like college age kids because that's what I have. Like, they're just nicer. They're nicer than when we were kids. I don't know if you find that. They're more communal. I don't know. I just remember like people weren't that nice when I was younger. You know, even the kids mean to each other, judgmental. And I find like they're probably have come in on a higher frequency. And I also find them less materialistic. I don't know if you find that with your own children.
I'd say in general, absolutely less materialistic,
Yes.
definitely nicer, for sure. Sometimes I would go borderline too soft.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But I could see that that's their goal, right? Is to keep the peace and everything, you know, kumbaya. And I think but we have a pendulum thing going on, like we always do historically, don't we? So we are in the 80s, it was all about materialistic, and in the 90s, through the grunge area, you know, we were assholes.
Right.
Many people were just, and then it's transitioned, and I think we're gonna find our spot, right? And the reality is we should always do our best to be nice to everybody, but also don't be so nice that you're suppressing your truth, right? And that's the balance that I think that we're gonna find, and it's actually exciting to watch.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. Anything else, Stu?
No,
We're getting close to
not
the
really.
hour.
I know we want to finish up soon. I just wanted to say to you, Lewis, that I'd watched a lot of stuff you've done, and then I saw you. I think it was one of your truth tours and stuff. You were on stage with Russell J. Gould and his 2 bodyguards, and I saw a lion come out in you that day, and I know you are the right man for this job. If I was in California, actually, you're exactly who I'd be voting for and pushing. So you have my love and hope from the UK, but any time in the future, I know this campaign is at the forefront for you at the moment, but any time you want to come on and talk a bit of tin or for that stuff, because I know you've got one as well.
Let me see. Do I have any of those? There we go. Maybe, just maybe, I have a couple tinfoil hats going on here.
Exactly.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
My wife made me this one.
Excellent. Yeah, that's perfect. Right, that's brilliant. Well, Lewis, thank you very much. We're going to show your film now, and I've got it on 1.5 speed to get it done a bit quicker, but I watched it earlier on that, and it's perfectly viewable and stuff, and it's an excellent watch. I watched it the other day, so brilliant. Good luck with all you're doing, and we're all behind you, we the people.
Appreciate
Absolutely.
both of you. Thank you
And
so
it's
much.
hermsforcali.com, right?
hermsforcali.com. Go support. That can be in the form of a volunteer donation, whatever works for you. But we've got this. And by the way, anywhere in the world you can support us. That's one law that they have open. They probably had it for a bad reason, but we're going to use it to our advantage.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, the times are really tough. So, you know, don't feel like if you can't, you know, monetarily give, spread the word, share his films, share any of anything he has on social media, because there's a lot of value to just getting the word out and sharing it in your community. If finances, but if you have finances, we know that we're supporting a really good man with a good cause. And hopefully you're going to bring a lot of change for the better in California.
We will. Appreciate both of you.
Where we go, when we go, also.
That's right.
Thank you. And Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Take care, Lewis. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Right. There we go. That was amazing. I love Lewis Herms. He's definitely the man for that job. So we need to give him all the support we can.
Yeah, and you're right. Like, there is something so gentle about him, but you do see that lion when he starts talking about certain things. There's no question.
Did you see that event when he
Yes.
was on stage with Russell J. Gould and well, I go like that for bodyguards, but Lewis wasn't taking any shit.
Right, exactly. And I was thinking the two films, you know, Cages in 2020. Maybe we could do a watch party, you know, after the holidays, kind of get that, you know, get that going again, get a lot of shares on it and awareness going. So have that down. And yeah, I mean, I'm going to reach out and see if we could get Mr. Chambers on, who's running in Texas.
You send me the details of that, because I want to have a little look up and stuff. And yeah, brilliant. That would be absolutely amazing. Right, let's get this film on. Elisa and I are going to watch this. I might take us off the screen, but we will be here. And then when it's finished, we'll come back for a little chat about it afterwards. Okay?
Cool.
Brilliant. This is 36 minutes, 1.5 speed. It'd be under half an hour. Okay?
You're telling me that you'll be true. Lies, that's all I ever get from you. Lies, breaking my heart. You think that you're such a smart girl, and I'll believe what you say. Or who do you think you are, girl, to lead me on this way? Hey, lies, lies, I can't believe a word you say.
The conscious and intelligent manipulation of the masses is an important element in a democratic society. We are governed, our minds are molded, our tastes form, our ideas suggested, largely by men we have never heard of. They give us the illusion of choosing between 2 or 3 pre-selected paths, while the real direction remains in invisible hands. Hello, Louis Herms here. You probably know me from ScrewBigGov, The Truth Tour, or as that We the People guy. My heart is in exposing the deepest corruption, child sex slavery, the medical mafia, and rolling out real fixes for our biggest issues. I know speaking this truth loud could hurt my campaign chances, especially with conservative media gatekeepers in the mix. But honestly, this isn't about my run. It's about blowing the lid off of a massive conspiracy that's changing how we see our supposed allies in this war. We're drowning right now in what I'm calling the psyop of silence. This whole operation is crafted to steer our thinking, control our actions, and keep us addicted, craving the next hit. It's pure clinical Stockholm syndrome, where we end up loving the very system holding us captive. It sure feels like we're being manipulated on an epic grand scale that most can't even fathom. Looks to me like the top conservative media giants are grabbing our attention, eating up our precious time, and purposely steering us away from the stories that matter most. That's the old hidden hand trick. Pay attention to the left hand while the right hand is doing the dirty work. We're about to rip the veil clean off, exposing a cancer, rotting America's heart from the inside. And yeah, in my strong opinion, these so-called conservative outlets are complicit in the pain, deaths, and outright enslavement of thousands, if not millions of innocent people. In fact, Charlie Kirk alluded to this just weeks before his tragic assassination.
The media has done a very, I would say, effective job at trying to whitewash all the crimes that happened during COVID.
The media you trust most, Fox News, OAN, Newsmax, Epoch Times, Gateway Pundit, The Daily Wire, high-profile conservative podcasters, influencers, and social media accounts, do they truly have our best interests at heart? A few might, but the vast majority of popular accounts, absolutely not. They're positioned as our warriors against the radical left, the real truth warriors in this ocean of lies. But they're not merely missing the mark. Many are deliberately kicking the ball in the wrong direction, far away from events and truths that could completely reshape our nation and the world. These stories we've witnessed ourselves are screaming for outrage, massive action, and real accountability. Over the next stretch here, we're going to lay bare some absolutely seismic events that most of these conservative fake news outlets have completely ignored or deeply buried. Are the Marxists mainstream and these conservative outlets really just two sides of the same counterfeit coin? If the end game is keeping us busy, hiding the critical stories, fueling division so conquering can come easy, then yes, without a doubt, it's a total illusion of choice, tickling our ears with partial truths while our minds go numb, our eyes glazed over. Is this conservative fake news diversion? Just bad prioritizing, money-motivated storytelling, or full-on controlled opposition? Bad prioritizing implying they're clueless. No, they're far too smart for that. Financial incentives pulling focus to less threatening spots and away from the fires that could burn the house down? Yes, at times. Controlled opposition? Let's break down the definition clearly, then you decide for yourself.
Controlled opposition means a person, group, or movement that seems to fight the establishment or official lies, but is actually secretly run, funded, or manipulated by that same power to contain, discredit, or, I'd say, pacify true resistance and keep folks calm.
Here's a perfect example. Which outlet first called Arizona for Biden in 2020, shattering your trust?
This is a big development.
Yeah.
The Fox News decision desk is calling Arizona for Joe Biden. That is a big get for the Biden campaign.
Fox was the most trusted mainstream source for conservatives then. Classic controlled opposition play. Build trust, grab massive appeal, then betray us at the key moment. What if I lay out proof that much of conservative media is actually more dangerous to real conservatives than the open Marxist agenda? Let me break it down. With outlets like MSNBC or CNN, we know the snake's coiled at the front door, venom ready to strike. But with these so-called trusted conservative sources, we let them in, think they're feeding us the full truth. Yet, they might give 80% real info while burying the explosive 20%, the 20% that could flip everything we know. That makes conservative fake news like a rhino, Republican in name only, the snake that crawls into your bed at night. So, which snake scares you more? The one hissing at the door or the one warming up under your sheets, ready to strike when you're asleep? Let's start with one of the most tragic, heartbreaking stories out there. A true patriotic Gold Star mom was the Mesa County clerk in Colorado, responsible for overseeing and securing the 2020 election data. Her sacred duty was to protect that information, make sure it was preserved right. But she was ordered by higher-ups to ignore protocol, close everything without proper backups. It reeks of a cover-up. She stands firm, refuses, and suddenly becomes perhaps the single most credible whistleblower on the entire 2020 election steal. What happens next? The full weight of the corrupt system slams down. Indicted on bogus charges, slandered endlessly, and a blatantly corrupt judge sentences this 70-year-old grandma to 9 years in prison on state crimes. Pure injustice. In jail, she has been abused. Solitary confinement for months, denied proper medical care, coughing blood. Now, as a past lung cancer patient, that's a concern. Barely any blankets in a cold cell where temperatures fell to the 40s. She's treated worse than most violent criminals. So, President Trump steps up multiple times, posting videos and truths, shining light on this nightmare. Then, listening to the people advisors and his attorney, Peter Tickton, Trump announces a pardon for Tina in December 2025. But like I warned it might, Colorado's deep state sewer rats block it, claiming state crimes aren't covered by federal pardon, keeping her locked up.
And frankly, with a governor that won't allow our wonderful Tina to come out of a jail, in a high-intensity jail, because she caught people cheating on an election, and they said she was cheating. She wasn't cheating. She went over, she looked at one of the election scams going on, and because she did that, they put her in jail for 9 years.
Even if you're not all in on Tina's story, even if you dislike President Trump, you must admit that this is one of the most compelling, outrageous injustices in decades. She could be under house arrest while the courts iron this out. Tina is potentially the keystone to proving widespread election tampering and Capitol level offense, the one hill the parasites will die on defending. So, where, oh where is the conservative fake news on this? Run the numbers yourself. Fox barely a mention before the pardon. OAN, silence. Newsmax, one quick buried segment. Epoch Times, nothing substantial. As of this film's production, Tina's still suffering behind bars. We pray that true justice prevails. Why would media we trust ghost this? Doesn't add up at all, unless they're secretly playing for the opposing team. It's downright sad, and it's infuriating. All right, moving on to another life-altering catastrophe that the mere mention of has gotten thousands banned from platforms, bankrupted families, destroyed reputations just for speaking out. Conservative press barely touched the early truths. PCR tests cranked to cycle thresholds, giving massive false positives. The flu mysteriously disappearing. Ivermectin smeared as horse-paced conspiracy, and today, quietly disclosed as effective and approved, well after concerns of COVID have waned. Hospitals raked in huge incentives, major bonuses for COVID diagnosis, positives, admissions, ventilators, remdesivir protocols, and even listing COVID on death certificates. One single patient could net over $100,000 in government payouts. Do you think that with these massive financial incentives, we were getting true diagnostic and care that was best for the patients? Impossible. And millions suffered for it. Whistleblower nurses, doctors were speaking up. They were fired, harassed, threatened, licenses revoked, some jailed. Think Robert Young, think Judy Mikovits, others suspiciously dead. But the real monster story, the one buried deep, is the avalanche of side effects and alleged deaths tied directly to the COVID jabs. In fairness to conservative Gateway pundit, they did have an article in December 2022 that shows a 4,070% increase in miscarriages and stillbirths since mRNA rollout. Official numbers from the CDC, around 85 million Americans boosted at least once. VAERS, the official reporting system, says 1.7 million adverse events, which would be headaches, fatigue, or worse, were reported. 350,000 serious hospitalizations, and about 40,000 reported deaths. That's roughly 1 in 40 boosted facing reaction or death. Huge red flag. But everyone in medicine knows VAERS is grossly underreported. Experts estimate 1 to 5% capture rate. Maybe 20% tops being generous. To be fair, we will use the 20% model. So that would make adverse events skyrocket to 8.5 million. That's 10% of boosted affected. It's likely higher. Hospitalizations to 1.75 million. And deaths in the United States, potentially over 200,000. 1 gone for every 400 boosted. Massive. Clear differences show up between unvaxxed communities like the Amish and the vaxxed populations. So why no deep dive? Even if half these claims are off, tens of thousands of personal stories were flooding social media demanding real journalism. And then the purge all got deleted. I know people personally. Young, healthy guy loses leg to clot post-jab. Multiple turbo cancers exploding. 2 guys under 40 dropping dead jogging. Teen heart attacks on the field. Myocarditis. Diagnoses everywhere. Folks walking around with glaze over their eyes as if androids without the God spark anymore. And that's just what my wife and I have seen. See, before 2020, we heard 0 issues like this. Anecdotally, I truly believe the jab took my mom's life. But she wouldn't count in any official tally, even with the generous VAERS adjustments. See, my mom did have a lifetime heart condition. She had a hole in her heart, which she had repaired a couple times. And that's why this is important. Her cardiologist of 30 years held a meeting the last time she had a pig valve replacement. And he said to the whole family that this woman would never have a blood clot. 30 years, and he said she's had the cleanest blood that he's ever seen. Okay, fast forward, she took the vax and she took 2 boosters, I believe. And sure enough, she was in the hospital dying. And I asked the resident doctor at the time what happened. And he said, quote, "She is filled with blood clots. There's nothing we can do." So that's interesting because her cardiologist of 30 years said she would never have a blood clot. What do you think that was from? He stuttered, walked away, and that was the end of that conversation. He couldn't be pressed on it. So these are the issues that we're seeing across the country, across the world. But why would the conservative fake news stay mostly silent on what should be the biggest scandal since World War II? Finally, in late 2025, the conservative fake news saw a tiny uptick in their reporting, but only because an FDA internal memo admitted at least 10 child deaths tied to the shots, sparking promises of stricter rules. But that's a vast undercount of the real toll. This should be every investigative journalist's dream. This is Pulitzer gold, history-changing exposure. So why does conservative fake news virtually ignore the century's greatest cover-up? Why? And more importantly, why are you still getting your news from the outlets that are intent on manipulating you? Now, let's dive into the most tragic example of all. Statistically, the most underreported crime empire, a $1 trillion yearly monster, hundreds of thousands of victims right here in the States. The evil cartels and their networks have shifted their focus, their product, from drugs to child sex slavery. It's good business. Drugs, sell it once, done. A child, sell 20 plus times daily. To them, these innocents aren't human. They're commodities just to use, abuse, then harvest the organs and discard when broken. It's the most sinister darkness imaginable. And we haven't even scratched the proven satanic element involved in this. That alone would be another blockbuster story if real media covered it. I didn't even mention adult trafficking, slave labor horrors, corrupt CPS money machine, pedophile judges protecting the system, or the foster care system turning pain into profit. It's deep, real deep. Cartels are partnering with foreign governments, U.S. banks, lawyers laundering likely $500 billion through real estate, inflating housing prices by 30% in cities like Los Angeles and San Diego. Try getting an affordable rental there. You think this doesn't touch you? You're wrong. It ripples everywhere. Why do conservative fake news podcasters, big influencers, stay almost completely silent on what's arguably the biggest evil story since the Revolutionary War? Suppression this deep is unimaginable unless orchestrated. This corruption drills down even to the local personal level. I've learned firsthand how the bad actors strategically suppress real grassroots campaigns, mine included, and thousands before. They funnel eyes only to 2 or 3 pre-picked options, anointing their choices while blacking out the rest. Now that I'm inside the fight, it's clearer than sunlight on a cloudless day. This lines up perfectly with the classic illusion of choice strategy to control us all.
Forget the politicians. The politicians are put there to give you the idea that you have freedom of choice. You don't. You have no choice. You have owners. They own you. They own everything. They own all the important land. They own and control the corporations. They've long since bought and paid for the Senate, the Congress, the state houses, the city halls. They got the judges in their back pockets, and they own all the big media companies, so they control just about all of the news and information you get to hear. They got you by the balls. Well, we know what they want. They want more for themselves and less for everybody else. But I'll tell you what they don't want. They don't want a population of citizens capable of critical thinking. They don't want well-informed, well-educated people capable of critical thinking. They're not interested in that. That doesn't help them. That's against their interest. That's right. It's a big club, and you ain't in it.
Garland is spot on. Years now, Gavin Newsom and his doom crew went full scorched earth on California. Typical move when concerned about losing a war. Even everyday Democrats are fed up with this tyranny, cheering that he is leaving. This makes California governor race one of the most pivotal, intriguing races in our nation's history. Huge demand for a true conservative in this blue state, or so-called blue state, especially with President Trump pushing hard for cleaned up elections there. At bare minimum, you'd expect this dynamic story plus the strong field of conservative candidates to dominate headlines across conservative media. But no, blackout for everybody except their chosen 2. Does that sound familiar? As former team members from Secretary Kennedy's counseled me directly on, they say the conservative fake news only spotlights 2 or 3 handpicked candidates per major race, ghosting everyone else, no matter how powerful their message, story, or their solutions. This is done with surgical precision. Most voters don't even know they have other options. When someone breaks through the suppression, then the fake smears stories are ready to launch, just like they did with Bobby Kennedy. Is this intentional? Is it coordinated? Is it conspiratorial? Absolutely. And it's fact. The anointed frontrunners, such as Steve Hilton or Chad Bianco, get daily conservative fake news love. But November 8th, 2025, something extraordinary happened that the controlled conservative fake news completely ignored. It was the Take Your Power Back California Governor Showdown at Awaken Church in San Marcos. 13 out of 14 conservative candidates on one stage, grilled with tough, real questions. With Hilton plugged daily and OAN's Dan Ball co-hosting, you'd think massive coverage. Wrong. Total blackouts. Crickets across conservative fake news. Not one mention, even after. Dan Ball helped host, yet OAN still silent. Interesting. Huge political story of the decade just vanished. Why? Because some candidates crushed it. Hilton struggled, or because I, Louis Herms, exposed taboo corruption that they won't touch. I don't know. The overwhelming feedback was that I dominated the day. That's nice and humbling. But the real issue is, why would self-proclaimed conservative champions deliberately suppress such a massive event with quality, faith-filled people-first candidates? Now, to add drama, Chad Bianco was a no-show.
Some of you have been asking me, why is Sheriff Bianco not in the house? Well, I will let you know that we actually scheduled him to be here months ago. We actually moved the date for Sheriff Bianco to be here. Unfortunately, Sheriff Bianco has declined.
In fairness, his teams say otherwise. Either way, it is still a huge untold story. California boasts one of the Earth's biggest economies, an election that could shift power worldwide. Yet total media mute from the right. Doesn't compute. Also wild, coordinated loud pushes months early to force pick one of 2 candidates, screaming, "Don't split the vote." It's a pure psyop. Good people are ditching God-given discernment, parodying deep state lines instead. This is textbook CIA KGB playbook. Goes all the way back 2,500 years where Plato warned, and so is Machiavelli, Chomsky, Bernays built their careers on this. By now, you probably see clearly I'm onto something real. What does this Mossad operator have to say?
We create a pretend world. We are a global production company. We write the screenplay. We're the directors. We're the producers. We're the main actors. The world is our stage.
This is Mossad's old office. Its motto from Proverbs 24:6 says in so many words, wage war through deception and trickery, kind of like the CIA's smoke and mirrors.
So, who's masterminding this ancient, most effective psyop? Many point fingers to CIA, FBI, MI6, KGB, the Jesuits, Israel, China, Five Eyes Alliance, 3 city-states, or even the 13 bloodline families. Historically, all could be plausible suspects. But hold on. What if there's a massively funded 3-letter agency barely 1% of Americans ever heard of? A public-facing government website, but all the real work hidden deep in the shadows? What if that shadowy beast is the Senior Executive Service, better known as... Deep inside the federal beast lurks the Senior Executive Service, a vast network of thousands of unelected overlords operating with zero real oversight. Officially born in 1978 through Jimmy Carter's Executive Order and Civil Service Reform Act. But whispers and alternative digs would suggest that George H.W. Bush, CIA director for 75 through 77, helped seed its foundations, tying it straight into that New World Order web. Bush, a supposed Carter rival, likely collaborated with him and his team on this. Huge clue is that we're fed illusions of left-right division. It's really 2 sides, same coin. Bush Sr.'s infamous 1990 New World Order speech, 11 years to the day before 9/11 under Bush Jr.
What is at stake is more than one small country. It is a big idea, a new world order.
It's chilling. Numbers and symbology mean something to these arrogant pricks. Dick Cheney steps in, mastermind post 9/11 power consolidations, his network allegedly merging SES with military industrial complex muscle. It does seem now that there may be NORAD ops out of Cheyenne Mountain, running quiet counter moves against the SES global control. This shadow government hides behind secrecy. Peek at their bland official website for a clue. It's the thin veil of fake legitimacy. For decades now, critics scream about SES unchecked power. Career embeds across 75 plus agencies, built resistance to any president that may not be under their control. Protections making them basically unfireable. If a government worker, politician, NGO head, or media figure slacks or sabotages what appears to be their duty, we can reasonably suspect they get extra dollars from the SES that actually exceeds their standard pay. Therefore, they look away. They divert from what they are tasked to do. They serve the master that pays them the most. They claim apolitical, but really, it's about raw control and domination. Operation Mockingbird is not just liberal media. I know this hits conservatives hard. O'Reilly, Hannity, Bear on Fox, clues just staring us down. Who truly runs SES? That's the trillion-dollar question. Whomever it is seems that they have puppeted Obama to purge and replace thousands before Obama left. He actually installed an additional 6,000 anti-Trump loyalists as a stay-behind army. Obama's SES explosion created that entrenched force needed as they painted Trump as a Russian asset nonstop. A calculated smear via Obama, Brennan, and CIA links to lock in deep state continuity. The late Boone Cutler would tell you, this isn't mere politics. It's 5th generational warfare to destroy whatever is left of our republic. Come 2025, DNI Tulsi Gabbard declassifies bombshells.
There is irrefutable evidence that detail how President Obama and his national security team directed the creation of an intelligence community assessment that they knew was false. They knew it would promote this contrived narrative that Russia interfered in the 2016 election to help President Trump win, selling it to the American people as though it were true. It wasn't. The report that we released today shows in great detail how they carried this out.
President, yesterday you've inferred that the former president completed a coup. Based on what you now see, do you believe President Obama is guilty of treason?
The expressed intent and what followed afterward can only be described as a years-long coup and a treasonous conspiracy against the American people, our republic, and an attempt to undermine President Trump's administration.
Proof Obama and his crew, Clapper, Brennan, Comey, directed a bogus intelligence community assessment claiming Russia was rigged for Trump, all fueling years of smears, Mueller witch hunts, impeachments, and more. From private insider interviews I've done, tons of three-letter agencies, politicians, executives, government workers, media personalities pull double pay from where? From SES, far above official salaries. Even retired senators keep SES stipends flowing, chained to the machine. With President Trump's NORAD quietly countering SES worldwide, we're in a full shadow war for America's very soul. In Trump's first term, claims are he axed 10,000 SES holdouts. Now, Biden's autopen likely refilled the ranks quickly. Are there ties to Zuckerberg, Winklevoss twins, Bitcoin web, crypto control? Speculations run hot. President Trump is pushing hard again to restructure the SES, but with tens of thousands funded outside the government, it ain't easy. The biggest clue to the shadow war is that on President Trump's first day in office of his second term, he signed the Restoring Accountability for Career Senior Executives Memorandum, which rips away the protections of the Senior Executive Service. Those with eyes to see, this may be the beginning of the end of the SES fortress. Or better yet, the start of we the people taking our power back. At this point, you may ask, how do I know which media is conservative fake news? Simple answer. If they're dodging every major issue we cover today, they're likely that snake in your bed. And the bite's coming soon, right in your asparagus. The evil ones want us herded like sheep to slaughter. They need compliant sheep. But many of us are lions, rising and fierce to guard our God-given freedoms. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Matthew 5:5 is quite possibly the most manipulated and twisted passage in the Bible. Large churches tell you that Matthew 5:5 means meek is weak. Meek means docile, don't stand up. But if you look at the origins of this word, all the way back to the Greek translation, it comes from a horse named Praus. Praus is the strongest war horse in the corral. He's the war horse that protects the other horses. Can you imagine where we would be if we knew that meek meant strength when there's adversity? If we understood that Moses was meek, that Jesus called himself meek, I believe he was flipping over tables. Does that sound like the standard definition of meek? No. We have been manipulated at the highest level we possibly can. Biblical meek aren't weak pushovers. They're power under perfect control, like a war horse reined, but ready to charge. We are the true meek. Bottom line, the illusion of choice is one of history's oldest, slickest power tools. Are you done playing the rigged game? It's time we flip the script. Play by lions rules, your rules, we the people rules. God already won this battle. The parasite controllers know it deep down, but they won't surrender easy. We the people must step up, get involved, be the real solution. Are you going to keep letting conservative fake news manipulate, disrespect, use us without full truth? If so, then sadly, we deserve what we get. I understand this is a mountain of truth to swallow. I get it. So what can we actually do right now? First and huge, realize we the people are the plan. Turn focus to independent, hard-hitting truth tellers actually covering these stories. Give them support, shares, credit loud. If even one big conservative fake news outlet has the mea culpa moment and they prove to turn around their actions, then they'll reap massive rewards. The audience will flood back. For all of us, keep your vibrations high and seek positive wins. We're entering a fresh era of raw authenticity, and people, they crave it, and they crave it bad. This is God's work, through and through. He won already. Now, we the people must get to work so we can reap the harvest. We've absolutely got this. God bless you all. God bless America.
Brilliant.
Yeah, that was really well done. Really informative.
Yeah, excellent, Phil. couple of points there that I noted down during that it was interesting that he named Tina Peters as the Keystone, because we've heard, you know, a lot about what the Keystone is, and various people go down different routes, but she's certainly you know, a massive part in this.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah.
And I think I think, like, first and foremost is just to get the eyes on it. You know, I mean, we always wonder what's really going on behind the scenes, and how much of it is still part of a movie or not. But the point is that this has happened all over. I think she's sort of the person they've put in front, because we know a lot of people that did come forward had a lot of the same fate, you know, during the election. Look at, you know, January 6th. Like, so I think what they need to do is, and they've done it so brilliantly, is show one particular character, if you will, so that it's easy to understand and for people to get up in arms about and realize what's really going on. It was interesting. He put, you know, he had her in there and highlighted it.
Oh yeah, well, he summed up a lot of things there, basically. It's always interesting to me that it was the VAERS report is at 1.7 million, you know, and we know how much manipulated it is and underreported it is, but every time I see those figures and stuff, it was quite funny, really, because when I just clicked on the screen to have a look at how much time we got left, 10 minutes left of the film, I looked at my live, and it was 1 hour 17 minutes and 7 seconds, which was a double thing again. And it's you know, that's the only time I looked at it, really.
I looked at it once when we were on with Lewis, and it was a whole bunch of like a sequence of numbers on my actual clock. It has the date and the time, and like, you can't make it up. Every time I look up when we're on, it's some number, some coincidental number of communication.
I'll just tell you a quick story about that. I've told you this before, but I was out cycling one day and I was just having a bit of a day, just feeling a little bit knocked and that. And I looked up at the sky and I said, and I load my activities onto an app called Strava, and it tracks all your route and it tells you the time you've done it in, the elevation you've done, you know, where you cycle, all these sorts of things. It's just great. It's like a Facebook for athletes or something.
Okay.
I looked up at the sky and I said, I want my mileage or kilometers to end in the 17 today. And I thought, hold up a minute, the only way I'll be able to do that is 89 kilometers, right? And I was doing quite a big ride. And then I thought, well, that won't work. It's going to be about 5 less than that. So I said, with a decimal point, then let's see if we can get a 17. So I carried on cycling. About 10 minutes later, and I went, actually, right, I want a 3:33 as well in there somewhere, you know, because that's my numbers. Anyway, when I got home, I cycled into my car park. I've got a bike computer on my bike, tells me what my heart's doing, my power, you know, distance cycle, all that sort of thing. And it was 84.4 kilometers, right? And I cycled around my car park and pulled up where I normally do, and it clicked onto 84.5, right? Which was my 17.
Wow.
Right? I just looked up and went, thank you. I came in, had a shower, loaded my bike ride up to Strava, and you get a lot of time and stuff like that. But then if you stop for anything, it sort of like automatically takes it off. My total ride time was 3 hours, 33 minutes and 17 seconds.
Oh my gosh. That is so crazy.
I mean, that just, all right, I'll do this for another year then. No sweat.
Yeah.
You know?
I see numbers all the time. All the time. This has been happening since 2016.
But it's escalating, isn't it?
Yes.
It's a constant thing.
Yeah. It doesn't matter where I look. Honestly, sometimes when I'm driving, whether it's street signs, license plates, the dashboard, sometimes it gets so overwhelming. I literally feel like I have to shut my eyes because the numbers are just flashing so fast, the synchronized numbers.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah.
You tune in. And you know what's funny? Like when I started dating George, he wasn't into numbers and everything. I get texts from him all day. It's 11:11. You know, it's 5:55, like all day. Like now he's tuned in, you know, and it's just, I think that's the communication with, you know, source, universe, whatever you want to call it. Just that's the way it communicates with us to tell us we're either on the right path or to get our attention.
Yeah.
It's really pretty terrific.
Synchronicities. We always used to see these things as coincidence, but when you realize the synchronicities happen and you think, well, what is that telling me? Am I on the right path? Should I go to the gym today? You know, should I take the left or right turn here? You know, it's
even the thoughts you're having. Sometimes you have to notice when you see certain numbers, like 11:11, like what was I just thinking in that moment?
No, exactly. Yeah, you have to, in that moment, you have to think about it. And yeah, it was lovely, little sad, the little story he was telling about his mum there, but a lot of us been through situations very similar to this. And like I say, we've lost a lot of people, collateral damage in this war, but it is the battle for humanity, and we may lose some more in the, you know, before this is over. But you know, let's hope we do have a good Christmas and stuff. But it's interesting what he was saying about SES there, because many people have said that, you know, 107 and Nino and other people, the fact that this needs to go to some precipice scare event moment and stuff like that for this control to be switched over completely from SES to Cheyenne Mountain.
Yes.
You know, so that's something very interesting to keep your eyes on, but I think we're getting there. Something big is about to happen.
I think so too. So just so you know, I did, while I was watching, I did a little research. So I am reaching out to Doc Pete Chambers.
Excellent.
So, yeah, so hopefully we'll be able to have him on the show in the new year. And this is our last show, right? Until right after Christmas on Friday with Jason.
Yeah, we got 3 days off.
Yeah.
I might have another guest coming on from the UK as well, so I'll let you know about that. Someone got in touch with me, so
good.
That's interesting. I'll talk to you about that. But yeah, I think that's it. Another amazing show. Thank you for everyone for being in here.
Yes.
Some usual suspects, some beautiful people. Yeah, and we're gonna hopefully get a few more faces of them on when we do our next Patriots Across the Pond family chat. Not this Saturday coming, but we're doing it 2 weeks' time on January the 3rd. I think 3 p.m. in the afternoon, 10 a.m. Eastern for a couple of hours. And it's great to get everyone on. You know, we have Brett on, and it's great that Brett came on his own because he managed to chat the whole show. If we get 10 people come on at the stage, people won't have as much time. But yeah, we want to give everyone a voice out there, and we thank you for all the support we're getting as this PATP family platform builds.
Yes, thank you so much. And a Merry Christmas to everyone.
Yeah.
And we'll be back on Friday at 11:30 Central, 12:30 Eastern, excuse me, and 5:30, right? Yes, 5:30 UK time.
Yeah.
Oh, so someone just said Jason Q on Christmas Day from Cozy Cat Cafe. Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I might even tune in from that if I'm back in time. But I'm at the families and stuff, and there'll be a fair bit of boozing going on, no doubt.
Yeah.
So I might just go over, go to bed.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. We love you. And have a wonderful couple of days. Let's keep our fingers crossed, right? You never know. Never know what might happen over the next 3 days off.
Well, let's hope the banks go down or the EBS goes off. Yeah, what's happening on Christmas Eve? That'd be an absolutely dream of mine.
Yes.
Sitting there on Christmas Day like that.
That would be quite the gift. And if not, we just keep pushing ahead and holding the line. That's all.
well, so many people are saying this next, 7 months, but we're probably a month into that now. And Lewis was saying the same thing there, wasn't he?
Yeah.
That 5-6 months. So yeah, I think it's going to escalate, and the drips are going to turn into the flood, and people are going to wake the fuck up.
Hopefully.
Yeah. I know.
All right. I'll talk to you later. Bye, everyone.
Yeah. Happy Christmas. Have a great time, and we'll see you soon. See you on Boxing Day, hopefully.
This is the difference between the power of our Creator and anything else, particularly evil. That you can go into a pitch black room full of evil, full of darkness, and light a little candle, and instantly that darkness flees. But you can't do the opposite. You can't go into a well-lit room full of truth and wisdom and righteousness and joy and health and harmony with the universal power. And you can't take any amount of darkness and go into that well-lit room and have any effect whatsoever. That is the metaphor which I frequently think of when I think that I'm not empowered. It is the greatest lesson for me, and I think for everybody else, to know that we're on the winning side and that we win in the end.